They were all these amazing stories that I went through to learn that we are all divine beings having a human experience on this earth, and that our soul has come here to learn. So everybody we meet, everybody we see, they're gifts. And the hard lessons are gifts too, because you learn about all the things that you haven't managed in your life to see who you really are.
Lynn Patner is the author of The Awakened Soul, a story about Lynn's own journey into living a conscious life. Lynn is a certified hypnotherapist and Reiki practitioner. Her studies include Native American traditions, shamanism, Eastern traditions, and a variety of energy therapies and healing practices. This is a conversation about curiosity and the places you will go. Join us for a soulful journey with Lynn Patner. Lynn, welcome to Bump in the Road. If you would, tell us your story.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your show. This is quite a pleasure. Oh, my story. It started a long time ago, as a matter of fact. And I don't think many people remember, but there was a character on television in the 60s called Donna Reed. She was a sitcom character, and she wore pearls, and she always had lipstick on, and she was always dressed beautifully, and she even ironed. And so when I got married and had children, I became Donna Reed. It was a good role model for me because I didn't have a role model at the time. And it was my curiosity that got me onto the stories that I found. And so what happened was that a friend of mine, this is where it all started, a friend of mine invited me to go to a healer. And I didn't know what a healer was. And he was a doctor who could send energy from his aura to my aura. I didn't even know what an aura was, but I was curious and skeptical. And I was going to go and find out what he was doing. Then they used the word chakras. And I said, oh my God, what is a chakra? I knew nothing, absolutely zero. And something in my head, and I had one eye open and one eye shut. I was watching everybody. I was watching him so I could go back and tell my friends what a quack this was, right? Something in my head said, shut up, Lynn. I looked around the room. Everybody was like out on the floor on chairs. Shut up, Lynn. So I shut my eyes. And the minute I shut my eyes, Pat, this incredible current of energy, which I'd never felt in my entire life, came zipping up all the way through all the chakras that I learned later into my head where I had sinus problems. And it was like the 4th of July. And I sat there in this energy going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And when I finished, my friend had to say, Lynn, get up, wake up. Everyone's left. We're the last ones because I was still sitting there. That started my bumps in the road because I was going to find out as much as I could about what I experienced. And I did. And I absolutely went on this incredible journey, not knowing that it was my journey. I had no clue of who I was, why I'm here, or anything, but I followed all my leads. And each lead led me to a different part that I was supposed to learn. And as I learned, I taught, because that way for me, I just love teaching. I love what I do. I love teaching. And I just kept doing it. So it took me all through finding out judgment is you don't have the right to judge. It's not my job. And I was a CPS social worker for child welfare. So basically I was working with abused children and abused adults who had them. And it was a hard job, but I loved it. And it taught me compassion, and it taught me, a squirrel lady taught me how to open my eyes and look at my heart, and my ears stopped talking. They said, we don't want to hear anymore. And I almost went, oh my God, they don't want to hear anymore. It was one of the stories. They said, listen from your heart. I had a little girl, and these are all stories from my book. I had a little girl, her name was Joanne, and she told me about her grandfather, who was her guide, who was her angel. But he had died before she was born, and she didn't know it. They were all these amazing stories that I went through to learn that we are all divine beings having a human experience on this earth, and that our soul has come here to learn. So everybody we meet, everybody we see, they're gifts. And the hard lessons are gifts too, because you learn about all the things that you haven't managed in your life to see who you really are.
You say listen with your heart.
Mhm.
Talk about that.
Listen with your heart. As a social worker, my whole job was listening. And in the beginning, I was pretty much critical. You can't hurt a kid. I mean, if you hurt a child, or basically, I had most of the incest cases, which was very hard. And so it was hard for me to listen with the heart because I was so angry at whoever did this hurtful thing to a child. But I learned that that's not my job to judge another. That was not my job. And to listen from my heart made it something different. You have more compassion. You have more understanding of others' journeys. Even though I didn't respect their choices, it was their choices that they made. And it's really their karma that they have to deal with because
What
we're all
was
here.
what
Yeah.
was your mission? To listen, to create a bridge? What did you see as your mission?
My mission was to listen with an open heart to their stories and not be judging, because judgment is a part of being a social worker. You're writing court reports every 6 months and you're saying what you're seeing. And if you don't see it from your heart, you're seeing it differently. It's like if a person's mean, let's say there's a person that hits a child and leaves marks on them, okay? And I know that I'm going to stick up for the child because I always do. That's physical abuse. But I would talk to the parents and I would find out exactly what they were taught in their life, what their beliefs were. And I had a father who used to say to his kid, I brought you into the world, I can take you out of the world. And I
Ooh.
said, oh, a lot of people do that. That's definitely, you hear that a lot. And so I said to him, your child's here for a reason. He picked you as a parent. You're supposed to show love and compassion. And you know what they did? Oh, I have a great story for you. This is a wonderful story. Anyway, I had a case where there were two parents. They were drug abusers. I don't know, remember what drug they were on, but they were taking drugs all the time. And she was pregnant. And she went to the hospital, Stanford Hospital, which was a big hospital, delivered the baby. And the baby had an addiction problem because if the parents are addicted, a lot of times the babies are. And I'll call the baby Mary. Okay. So Mary's born and has addiction, and the nurses are taking care of her and showing, the parents are supposed to come in the daytime to be able to take care of their baby and learn what to do. They'd show up at 12 o'clock at night, right? Because drug addicts sleep all day, use all night. So they're high when they come to the hospital at 12 o'clock at night. So I had to remove the baby from them. And I had never done that. I was family maintenance, family reunification. So I take this little baby into custody and we file a court report and they show up at court. And of course, the social worker, me, has a right to remove this child. The parents have to go to programs. Now, this little girl is in a home, and she's 6 months in the home. And at the 6-month mark, you can say, I'm terminating parental rights. So the child has a greater ability to be adopted by somebody. But I was in therapy at the time with a spiritual counselor. And she said, and I told her the story, and I said, I don't want this baby to go home. And she said, well, did you ask the baby? I said, I can't ask the baby. The baby's 6 months old. How can I ask the baby? So what she did is she put me into a meditative place, and she said, I want you to ask the baby. So I said, from my higher Christ self to your higher Christ self, do I have permission to talk to you? And I got yes. And it just blew me out of the water. So I'm listening. The baby says to me, I have been born for a reason. I am here to show my parents how to love. I want to go home. Thank you for what you did. And I'm thinking, OMG, I can't believe that I've just talked to a 6-month-old baby who told me why she's here. I mean, these are stories that absolutely blew my mind. So, of course, I went and I told the father. I said, this is what happened. Now, he could have gone to my social work supervisor and said, you have got a raging lunatic for you. This is a crazy, crazy lady. I can't believe this. But he didn't. They ended up getting the baby back at the 12-month because she needed more work. So I gave them an extra 6 months. The baby went home at a year. They moved out of state ASAP. And he wrote me a letter. The father wrote me a letter saying they had a boy. And I was concerned because the father had AIDS. But he wrote that the baby did not get AIDS, whatever, the baby did not get it. And I wrote back and I said, remember what Mary said, that she's here to show you how to love.
That's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the energy surge that you experienced.
Okay.
What was that, do you think? And how did it change your life from that point forward?
The energy, what I know to be is we're all energetic. We are all energetic. And some people have the ability to send energy, like Reiki masters can send you healing energy. And I was curious. How could this be? What is this? I want to know too. Curiosity is really what started my journey because I really couldn't believe that someone had that kind of power. What is this from? How is it coming to me? And I'm obviously curious person. So, and I didn't know at the time, but it was my job to get that message. It was my job to be able to become who I am. That took a long time. I was a slow learner, but basically it taught me that I'm a midwife of awakening souls and I've come here for a reason, to assist others on their growth. So that initial part of my life that threw me on a path was something that had all the bumps in the road along the way, but what happened was I became who I am today. And I think that's a miracle because I was nowhere near being who I am today. Did that
What
answer
does
your question?
Yeah, no, well, obviously you're very conscious and evolving in that regard. What is consciousness to you?
Consciousness to me is to awakening up to your wounds, first of all, to see what you believe to be true. And once you see that, you have choice on to heal them because it was your little kid who had them happen to them. So the thoughts come from very young children from 0 to 8, where you may believe that you're not enough, or you may believe that you don't belong, or nobody loves you. These thoughts that you have create your life story. And until you find out what they were and how to heal them, you are running a pattern that you have no idea that you're running. So consciousness to me is learning that a 3, 4, or 5-year-old child is responsible for what you are having happen to you in this world. Once you get it and you realize that you really are a divine being having a human experience and you've come with gifts, everybody has gifts they come with. As that soul part of you awakens to who you really are, you have to get rid of all the muck that we have accumulated through our lifetimes and change our story.
Muck is the word I always use too. I always say you spend the first half of your life getting all this muck tossed upon you, and the
Oh,
second half of your life trying to peel it back if you're lucky.
yeah. I think there really is a desire for individuals to become more awake these days. In the past, you had the mystery schools, and only a few select people got to go to the mystery schools. And they were always too expensive for me to go to. So obviously, my guides had me go to mystery schools that I created on Earth. So I've learned what they have taught in mystery schools, but I learned it a different way through examples of what came into me.
Now, one of the things you mentioned is programmed reality. The programmed reality that we live in. And I think that is, and I go back to Donna Reed. I have to smile, but it's so true, and it's true regardless of what your age is. Every generation goes through this. They have a set of mores and values and must dos and must not dos, and they live their life accordingly. And until they start questioning it, until we all start questioning it, we're just robots, really.
We're acting what we've learned. I'll give you an example. When I was 3 years old, I went to nursery school for the first time. I lived in an apartment building with all these older people. I was the only child, so I was queen. They loved me. They did anything I asked them to do. Let's play this. Let's do this. Let's whatever. It was phenomenal. Then I go to nursery school. I hop off the bus. I walk in, And in front of me, behind the blocks and the easels and all of that great stuff, there's a dollhouse, an incredible life-size dollhouse with beds and refrigerators and freezers and dolls and tables. So I took over. That's what my personality, I took over. Nobody would play with me. There was my wound. That was my wound. And what happened from the wound is that I got that there's something wrong with me.
Yeah.
Nobody at that time could handle a child that just had been wounded. I found this out. Now, I have to tell you, when I was going for my master's in social work, I was in a group therapy class, and the professor said, "What was your first group experience?" So that was it. And I laughed. I thought it was really cute. It was just adorable. And then I thought about it and I said, yeah, this was pretty nasty. This wasn't fun. But that not enough went through, I can tell you, it went through my entire life. I can show you where it showed up. It was all unconscious until I said to it, and it was late on life, and truly maybe 5 years ago. I mean, I took this to heart. I finally said, hey, Lynn, you made this wound when you were 3 years old. What are you going to do about it now? Is it real? No. Who are you? You're a divine being having a human experience. Get off the pity potty.
You know, one of the things you have in your book, you say, it was on your book or website, it is not wise to stay attached to old wounds. It serves no purpose. Oh, that is so true.
It's
But
true.
these wounds are almost embedded in our DNA after a point.
They are. They're totally embedded, and they are the engines driving the train. If your life is a train, you're the caboose. Carolyn Meese says that. I just love when she says that. It's true, and we're all trying. The people who are the people on your podcast who are into finding out who they are, why they're here, are listening, and then their guides assist them. Once you give permission, you have to give permission to get help. So when people say, whatever religion they are, please help me, they will. You just have to pay attention to the universe and what's sent your way. Those are the miracles. They're not Cecil B. DeMille movies, kids. They're just little miracles that happen all the time. And you have to be able, see, this is what I point out to the groups that I work with is, did you see that? Did you feel that? Did you hear that? Well, did you feel it? Yes. Well, that's your miracle. So you really do need someone most of the time to guide you along, to just go, there, go there. Look at your belief. What do you believe? How do you feel? Where did it come from? Until they get the picture of who they are and why they're here. And it's miraculous, Pat, to be able to see that. And I know so little. There's so much more that I have to learn.
Though you studied some really interesting areas. I mean, you're a certified hypnotherapist, a Reiki practitioner,
Mhm,
and you've studied American traditions, Native American traditions,
mhm,
shamanism,
mhm,
Eastern traditions.
mhm.
Those are fascinating areas, and I would say ultimately complementary. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. They're all teaching the same thing, but that's how I had to learn. I was placed in groups where I was to learn. I have to read you something. This is true. This is what the first time I ever channeled, and you'll know why I went to those groups, because somebody was leading me. It wasn't me. It was somebody. It was my guides. It was my angels. It was somebody that I didn't even know I had. But I was teaching a class, and this is really truthfully what happened. I was teaching a class called The Artist's Way.
Oh, yeah.
I loved the book. Then I got
Julia
tired of it.
Cameron, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great, and I was teaching this, and what happened was everybody always had synchronicities. And the first time it happened, I just blew my mind. It blew my mind. That's, oh my God, everybody's getting what they want. And then I learned about synchronicities as energy. But what you don't know about synchronicities is what people don't realize when people are teaching synchronicities. If by perchance between the ages of 0 and 8, you have a wound that says you don't deserve, you will never be able to do a synchronicity unless it's silly, like I wanted pale yellow towels. Someone else wanted a sofa on sale. Those synchronicities will come through. But if you, like Julie, what was her name?
Julia Cameron.
Julia Cameron said, You ask for the red Corvette, and the red Corvette starts, and then something says, well, what about insurance? And the red Corvette stops. And then the red Corvette, you say, I can pay the insurance. The red Corvette starts up again. And all of a sudden, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't think this will work. Pew, goes the red Corvette. That was because between the ages of 0 and 8, something happened in their lives where they learned a lesson that is running their lives. So when I was taking this class, and part of our assignment, beside having play dates, which was always good, was writing your morning pages. And usually I was writing, I got up this morning, went to the bathroom, I had my breakfast, I went to work, blah, 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 boring. But this morning I'm sitting in a dictation booth, going to write a court report, and I decided to do my morning pages. And this is what came through. This was one of the beginnings of my journey. So listen to this one. There are so many hurting people in the world, all trying to tap their way out of a shell and emerge healthy. So many barriers. Look to do this work joyfully. Don't be your own worst friend. Remember, you are doing the best you can with the tools you have, and that is true, kids. Allow this process to go on and get out of the way, especially if you're not serving yourself. Always remember you are not alone. There are many entities around who are assisting people in their growth toward the light. They may not be aware of this at first, but the moments of synchronicity are too numerous for the unfolding conscious mind to ignore. It's truly wonderful to observe all positive growth through pain, and the emergence of a new spiritual being that will shed light on people in their own way. One must experience the pain and anguish in order to see it's only a momentary stop-off in life before they get on the real work of living. There is a plan for everyone, and everyone must take the journey alone. That was something I would have never written. So I knew something was writing through me. I didn't know at the time that's called automatic writing. But it absolutely is true. It took me all this time. I wrote this in 1996. Okay? It was 1996. I have to tell you, it's taken me forever to get that message. I had to go through this. My book is about my going through these things in order to learn who I am and why I'm here. It's amazing. I just thought, oh my God, I showed it to everybody. Of course, I show it to everybody. But no one got it. No one understood it. And so you are not alone. You have guides, but you have to ask for them.
Well, and the other thing I think you bring up that resonates with many people is the fact that you are alone on this journey in a human sense.
Correct.
And I think people naturally look for a greater community or connection, but the reality is, in terms of a personal spiritual quest, it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Yep.
big step for in terms of self-responsibility for a lot of people.
Absolutely. I told everybody I was going to be spiritual in 2 years, and they laughed at me. And I was, but it taken me all the rest of this time, 20 some odd years, to get it. Really get it.
What are some of the
Excuse me.
steps or phases one might go through in terms of pursuing this type of journey?
Well, I think that you are intuitively know what you're good at. So I would just ask, I would sit down in a meditative way, breathing in, holding it, breathing out, letting it out, and just say, okay, we're talking about guides, we're talking about angels, we're talking about master beings being here on this planet to help us. And everybody has one. You're born with a guardian angel. I learned that too. You're born with your own guardian angel. So just take that first step and say, okay, she's talking about this. I'm going to sit down on the couch or a chair, and I'm going to ask for assistance in growing. I want to be able to see what these other people see, how special I am, and what I bring to this world. I want to help others. Once that is asked for, your guides pop off the couch, open the bottle of champagne, eat the caviar or eat the bonbons, and they say, Yahoo! She's asking for us. And then they come through And that's the beauty of this life, because you will be assisted if you ask for it. If you say, oh, this is just too much for me, I can't handle it, go. It won't happen. You're at the right place at the right time. Just allow. And that's all you have to do is allow.
If you could, no, go ahead.
No, I think maybe other things for other people, but that's, what I've experienced.
Well, and I think simply being present, another trait or quality that we don't really nurture in this world, is incredibly important, because until you're present, you're not going to notice the synchronicities. You're not going to notice all these things that are happening around you if you're off in your mind somewhere.
Right. Because people think people have no idea how special they are. They have no idea. I mean, it's when you think of it that it's like, here's something easy. You all know what an ocean looks like. It's vast, it's beautiful, it's powerful, it's incredible. If you take a drop out of the ocean and you place it on your hand, is that ocean, what is that ocean? That drop, is that part of the ocean? Yes, it's a drop from the ocean. You are a drop as a divine being. You're here to learn. Your soul has chosen this life to learn significant events. Sometimes we have to learn the hard way. Sometimes we have near-death experiences. That wasn't in my solar package. I did not have to have that. Did I have to have other things that I learned from? Yes. Did I have to learn from grief? Yes. Did I have to learn from angry? How angry I might be at what? Yes. I had to learn that through that. But everybody learns a different way once you ask. But you are never alone on your journey. That is the most important thing to know. There is someone with you that observes the pain that you've gone through, maybe at 12 when I was at camp. Knowing that somebody saw your sadness is a powerful gift. Powerful. And I learned that with the Hank Wesselman workshop.
If you could rewrite your story in any way, would you?
No. I think my story has been extremely a wonderful gift of learning who I am, and I had to go through everything in order to be here. I am so aware of all the beauty in this world and how much people are so important, and how I've learned so many lessons that I believe with all my heart that there is something driving me and I have no control, and it will be what it's supposed to be. And that's a gift. To have in a lifetime to come from there. No, I don't think I'd let anything go. Everything was in my life to teach me something, even if I might not like it.